Hello everyone and welcome to BTNJ, the Brick Tucky news source for New Jersey, where we cover news stories from around the world. I'm your host, Koopa Hargis, and let's jump right into the news. Our first story today is a sad one, as we mourn the loss of NBA Hall of Famer K.C. Jones. He passed away on Christmas Day at an assisted living facility in Connecticut, where he had been receiving care for Alzheimer's. K.C. Jones played for the Boston Celtics for 9 seasons and won 8 championships with them. He retired in 1967 and later won more championships as a part of the coaching staff for the Boston Celtics. He won these championships in 1981, 1984, and 1986, as well as winning a championship as an assistant coach for the LA Lakers in 1972. He was entered into the Hall of Fame in 1989 and was one out of 7 players only to win championships in college, the pros, and Olympic gold medal. He will be forever missed. Our next story takes us to Croatia, where there was a major earthquake that led to the deaths of 7 people. The earthquake happened on December 30th, and it was a 6.4 magnitude earthquake that occurred near Petrinja, which is 30 miles south of Croatia's capital. The neighboring countries of Serbia, Slovenia, Bosnia, and Herzegovina also felt this earthquake. Among the 7 people who were killed was a 12-year-old girl, and there were also dozens who were injured. Many buildings had also been damaged, and among those was a kindergarten, but luckily there was nobody inside. Shortly after the earthquake took place, the Croatian military stepped in to help with search and rescue, and about 500 shelters had been opened up to help house the people who lost their homes. This earthquake comes after 2 5.2 magnitude earthquakes had taken place the Monday before.
Ogroman potres.
The next story we're covering today brings us over to the UK, where a winter storm Bella has caused flooding and heavy winds that started on Christmas Eve. There were wind gusts that were over 100 miles per hour, and this includes a gust of 106 miles per hour that was on the Isle of Wight. The storm, which was named by the UK's Met Office, has left thousands of homes without power, and hundreds have been forced to flee their homes, and many began to leave on Christmas Eve. On Christmas Day, the River Great Ouse had overflooded its banks due to the storm, and this had forced 1,300 people to leave their homes in Bedfordshire. First responders began to rescue people from their vehicles on December 27th, after they were stranded by the floodwaters. Rail lines were also blocked by falling trees and the heavy rain, which also flooded the railway. Our prayers go out to the UK. This is the map that shows the snow and the weather in the UK at that time. Our next story takes us to France, where on Friday, October 16th, Samuel Paty was beheaded by Abdullah after Mr. Paty had shown a picture of the Prophet Muhammad in class. News got out that he had done this, and that Abdullah tracked Samuel down and killed him close to the school where he taught. The assailant was then shot dead by police, and to honor Mr. Paty, tens of thousands of people gathered to take part in rallies and to also defend freedom of speech. The latest news from this investigation is that 4 school pupils have been detained after having been identified as helping the killer identify Mr. Paty. These 4 detainees have brought the total to 15 people who have been detained after the murder, and the police are supposed to interview about 80 people who had posted online messages in support of the killing. The government is also probing 51 French Muslim associates. The next story today takes us to the state of Indiana in the U.S., where death row inmate Lisa Montgomery, her date of execution has been postponed. She was ordered to be killed by lethal injection in December, but a Washington, D.C. federal appeals court has lifted a stay of execution for her. She is now scheduled to die on January 12th, but more court appeals are expected to come in the coming days. Lisa Montgomery was put on death row after she killed a pregnant woman in 2003 and took the baby from the womb and claimed it as her own. Her attorney says she shouldn't be executed due to her history of mental illness and her life of trauma and torture, and she says that people in authority could have stepped in to help her, but they didn't. Montgomery's clemency case has also been delayed due to the fact that one of her attorneys got COVID after visiting her in November. Our last story today brings us to Nashville, Tennessee, where on Christmas Day, an explosion caused damage to 41 buildings, but luckily nobody was killed in the explosion. The bomber was identified as Anthony Quinn Warner, and he had died in the blast. Police found that he worked many IT jobs, and their records show that he had experience with electronics and alarm systems. Police believe he acted alone, and they were able to ID him through his remains at the scene. His motive is still unknown, but evidence shows that he intended to cause damage and not harm anyone. At the center of the blast was a white RV, which matched Warner's own white RV that was parked outside of his house. A speaker broadcast system that was on the RV was also heard playing a warning for people in the area to evacuate because there was a bomb that was about to go off. When the bomb went off, the RV was parked at an AT&T facility, and the blast caused damage to the phone and internet coverage in the region. Warner's neighbor said he didn't raise any red flags and he was a quiet person. He also said nobody really came or went from the Warner house, and that if Warner had any political beliefs, he kept them to himself. Here is a map of the explosion which occurred on Christmas Day. Thank you for watching. I'm Cooper Hargis from BTNJ. Stay safe, America, and good night.